Hi, everybody. I'm Jacquie Blaze, and welcome to Behind Closed Doors, the Love Unraveled podcast. Today, we're going to talk about self-love because, as we know, that's where it all starts. And joining me is a very special guest. She's an actress, she's an author, a speaker, and she's just recently released her latest book called Unapologetically Black, because it is about being unapologetically ourselves when we're talking about self-love. Joining me is Suzan Mutesi. Suzan, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jackie.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, I know that you had a huge launch party a few weeks back to launch your book. How did that go? And tell me, how is the book doing?
Oh, that the launch was very successful and it was very well received. And I think for everyone, they were very appreciative for what the book stands for, being unapologetically yourself and owning who you are and not apologizing for your quirks and insecurities and everything that just kind of like just tears you down or something that you have. Yeah, so the book is doing well. Of course, I would love it to, like, because of COVID, I can't go tour and, talk about the book in other places, but it's doing okay, like in Australia.
I think what a great time for it to launch. I mean, it's been in the making for 4 years, and to release it at a time when, there's been all the riots happening in America, I think is, great timing. I think
Time.
COVID, although, we have certain restrictions, we're doing, podcasts via Zoom, things are slowly, I think, starting to return back to normal in Australia, at least. We'll see what happens today, with the election and how things evolve in America. But
Yeah.
your book is spot on. What made you start writing this book?
What made me write this book, I think it's because for years and years, I believed things that people used to say about me. I've been bullied by people, discriminated, and always made feel so small and feel like I didn't belong. I didn't know if I was enough. So years and years of kind of like going through different seasons of either discrimination or bullying, I had to write to the young girl and tell her, no, you're not that. And also because sometimes these things that happen when you're younger, they can actually affect you when you're older. So I felt like I needed to write a love letter to the younger me and remind her that stop apologizing for being Black. It's okay to be Black, to be proud of who you are, your heritage, your skin, your indifferences, your kinky hair, your afro hair, your big nose. Like, it's okay to be that, and it's okay to love you. And I think for me it was kind of like a little love letter and a reminder for myself, and to just remind other people that own who you are. And that's, I think, for me, understanding that, having that revelation when I grew up and realizing that that's where I found my best self, when I'm just myself and not caring about what other people, be this, be that, or even the industry kind of like telling you you're too big, you're too this, you're like all these things, they can really tear your self-esteem down.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, and I think it's such a great book to present to women, especially because we're so self-critical. I mean, it's always we're
Yeah.
too fat, we're too thin, my hair's not straight enough, my hair's frizzy. I mean, this
Yeah.
is how we're conditioned in upbringing. So how was it for you writing this book? Was it somewhat therapeutical?
Yeah.
How's your journey been
um,
interacting with other women, and what are some of the lessons we can take away?
to be honest, it was quite therapeutical. It was so much healing. I honestly, there was so much healing that took place, and realizing that to not sweat the small things and not to sweat what other people say, because even someone who's putting you down, they're speaking from a place of insecurity. They're afraid of something that, and you could have a good quality about you, but sometimes I realize um, your worst failures or weaknesses could be your greatest strength. And to be honest, it was so healing. And one thing I'll tell every woman: do not apologize for being yourself. Do not apologize for having a fabulous life. Do not apologize for being glamorous. Do not apologize for being pretty, or do not apologize for something that kind of like is unique. If your nose is that way, be okay with that. If your hips a little bit round, be okay with that. If you've got a butt, be okay with that. Because I realize you can't be anyone else. Everyone is taken. and the best you is you. And sometimes you may feel like you're not good enough, and you walk into the room and everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's so gorgeous. So really, perspective is very different wherever you go. And sometimes it's in the room that you walk in that you realize, oh my gosh, actually, I'm worried about nothing.
Yes. And I love that you're pointing that out, because only yesterday I was saying to a friend, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And although I may not see someone attractive, my girlfriend may find him or her like stunning. And so it's all
Yeah,
relative. But I always come back to the fact that if we are authentically ourselves, that is the most attractive, the most desirable person that we can be, because there's only one of us.
that's
Why do you,
correct.
why do
Yeah.
you think why do you think us girls are conditioned to struggle? Is it media? I mean, how has that changed with the Kardashians being a little bit more voluptuous? That wafer thin look is no longer in. But what is it about us women that you find is so weak that we are all usually comparing ourselves?
I think within every girl or everyone wants to be desired, everyone wants to be wanted, everyone wants to be looked at, everyone wants to be seen. And sometimes us girls um, reflect our own insecurities and fears and doubts about ourselves on others in a way to make ourselves feel better. There's also that mean girls. There's like a group of mean girls that just are mean, even if it's just a way to kind of like, if I tear you down, it makes me feel better. Like it just makes my day. But to be honest, it doesn't make your day, because you still go back with your meanness and you still go back to bed with all those fears and insecurities. You just keep going out there and making yourself look like the mean girl, but you're not the cool girl. You're just a mean person. And also unkindness. And I realized that sometimes some girls can be unkind for no reason, because they're actually seeking to belong or to be a part of a circle. Like, for example, I went to a party and this Halloween, and this girl was asking me, so, oh, we want to go to the bottle shop. And I'm like, oh, there's a bottle shop next to Woolies. Like, Woolies in this building sells alcohol, because that's how they've done this building. Like, my friend lives in the Big Brother house. It's like, it's just a beautiful luxury apartments. And then she's like, so how long you been in Australia? And I'm like, and like, but the way she said it's like, how long you been in Australia? Woolies doesn't sell alcohol. Like, like, so how long you been here? Like, you, like, as if you should know that and things like that. And I'm like, you don't have to ask me how long I've been in Australia. You can just say, are you sure? Like, and I'm like, I've been in this apartment for quite a long time. I know this building very well. And then she's like, I'm sorry, I came across mean. I didn't mean to ask you how long you've been here. And then she tells me she's been here for 3 months. But the way she but the way she came across, she was actually looking for friends to hang with. But she had to be mean to kind of like get into the group. And I realized that she was not hanging with anyone. She was actually by on her own. And I told her it's okay. But don't ever, next time, just don't be mean. Like, there's no need to ask me how long have I been in Australia. I'm just telling you what I know. And then you realize that sometimes it's in our fears. Like, sometimes girls are scared. When you're so scared, you either fight or run away. You flee or fight. And
Yeah.
sometimes the way people do it, it's in a very ugly way. It's sad. I think us girls should do better. I think we should practice sisterhood, and I think we should
Yes.
practice togetherness, and I think we should fight for other girls, and I think we should speak up when other girls are being beaten down. And I think that's why I love the unapologetic message. I don't like tearing people down. I don't like gossiping and making other girls feel inferior to make myself feel better, because trust me, when you're talking about someone else is talking about you.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think that we're all one. If we're tearing down somebody, we're tearing down ourselves. I mean, look, there's always an exception to the rule. I'm not saying to the people at home right now, go and befriend that person that's been horrible to you, because sometimes it is about cutting people. Because we shouldn't be bullied and we shouldn't
Oh,
allow
yeah.
bad behavior to continue. I think that's like an important space to.
Yeah.
But I think that we do need to like make an effort to kind of realize that a person could be mean at like this girl was because of her own anxiety and her own fears and her own stresses. And by actually taking the high road and not sinking down to that person's level, we may actually get to see a nice side of them, because they can then
Yeah,
open up, their heart to us, because we're not being that mean person to them that they perhaps were anticipating or fearing receiving.
that's so true. Yeah. Well
Yeah.
said.
Oh, I thank you. I'm just bouncing off you. No, I love that you've done this book, because I think girls need it. I think that healing is an ongoing journey, and self love is also an ongoing journey. And I think the two are one and the same thing. What were some of the triggers that were coming up for you, and how did you heal your own triggers?
I think some of the triggers is when I always I think when you walk in the room, like I've been like all my life being here, coming here, most places I'm always like the only black girl, and sometimes I've learned to realize when I walk in the room, I'm not walking in with color. I'm walking in as Suzan Mutesi. And if anyone sees color, that's their own problem. But I refuse to identify myself as a black girl walking in the room. No, it's Susan Mutesi walking in the room. And even if there is like 10,000 white people and one black girl, that is just perfect, because I'm just lucky to be in the room. The only difference is we're all different shades, but we're all just beautiful girls just here to have a good time. And I'm going to have a good time. And and I think it's things like that where I had to unlearn particular things that people had said about me, unlearn all those negative words, unlearn all the ugly things I believed over myself, and start accepting me and start saying, you are enough. And if the room, and if there's an opportunity in the room, seize the opportunity. It doesn't have to be for a particular person. If you think you qualify and you're good enough for that, seize it, walk into it. You know you can do it. And just self-talk. Honestly, self-talk, and always telling yourself you can do this. You're smart, you're beautiful, you're enough. And I think we need to practice self-talk a lot, and just encouraging yourself, because sometimes your best cheerleader is you. You're not going to find everyone who will cheer you up and believe in you. Sometimes you got to tell yourself you can do it, baby, you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Look,
But it's a journey.
it is a journey. And I think that, and if I can share a little bit of my own journey, I have found that even the closest people to us can turn against us if we don't love
Oh,
ourselves, become so fear
yeah,
play. And
yeah,
not my mother personally, but I've heard stories of mothers turning on their own daughters. And when you look at that, closest relationships can actually turn sour. You have to realize how
yeah,
important it is to do the work on ourselves and to keep loving ourselves. And I think as I've
yeah,
gone into my journey and as I continue to, I think my time becomes more and more valuable, and my tolerance level of people behaving badly becomes less and less. And I can sense it a mile away. A person doesn't even need to speak. I'm like,
yeah.
okay, this shop assistant's going to
But
be rude, or they're going to play this game, or they're conditioned to this. And you start to kind of see and unravel all these programs. And when you
yeah,
you can kind of keep coming back and going, okay, well, my time's very valuable, and I'm not going to allow this behavior, you see a real shift happen. um, but I still find that the journey is ongoing. I still have triggers that sometimes pop up, and I wanted to bring that up because I think to, expect to always heal, or for something to just change and to suddenly just always be all happy, is an
yeah,
unrealistic expectation for me. How do you deal with this challenge? Because I was watching your videos from the launch party, and I just love how you were just shining and you were so confident. And to me, of course, your color is
yeah,
brings life to the party, because
yeah.
how boring would it be if everything was black and white? I love your dress, by the way. It's nice to have
Thank-
color. And for me, when I lived in Los Angeles and I was introduced to quite a distinct, like, heavy population of black people, which I had never seen before. One of my best friends is black, and to me
yeah.
there was no difference between black and white. It was about how you made me feel, and that's how I encourage everyone to move forward.
Yeah. Honestly, there is always triggers, and you always have to choose what to do. I've always found like there's so many incidences. I can tell you so many incidences, like even like in the past few weeks, where I always choose no, be silent, overlook that and do the right thing, in the sense of like laying down your pride, laying down sometimes where it could be ugly and you have to react. You have to withhold that, withhold the anger, withhold where you would say something back, and just kind of like, okay, I see the situation. I'm aware of what's happening right now, but how this affects me, I choose how this affects me. Like regardless of how ugly the situation is, I have control in how I react. My
Absolutely.
choice. Yeah. So the choices I choose in that situation reflect on who I am in that sense. And I'm like, what kind of character am I portraying now? Like who do I want them to see? And if they see a particular person that's just well behaved, blah, 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 they'll be like, I'll let you see that. But of course, triggers are always there. But being aware of it, assessing the room, reading the room, and being like, okay, this is gonna be ugly. Okay, I just won't deal with that person. Your energy is just not right for me. Nah, I'm not doing that.
And it's
And
all
then you just,
about energy. I love that you brought up energy because it is all about energy. And I think self
yeah,
love, and I'm sure you talk about this in your book, which I haven't read yet, but I'm so looking forward to it. It's all about
yeah,
energy and how we feel. It's not just,
yeah,
how does my hair look? Sometimes my hair's, not looking the best, but when I put on that smile,